Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Robert Donaldson, and welcome back to another edition of Rob's Best Bets. And in this video, we are talking about Sun Belt Tournament futures. We did one for the A-Sun, obviously, and if you haven't already hopped on there, make sure you go and do so because that tournament starts tomorrow on Sunday. So make sure you are ahead of the curve because I do think a lot of money can be made in the A-Sun. But here in the Sun Belt, we're looking at a 14-team field. And what's really interesting about this field, and I say interesting, but I honestly really hate it, is they adopted the WCC model of, essentially tiering the brackets by lumping two seeds together and then almost de-escalating it so that if you're below that first couple pairs of seeds, you're playing one extra game and then so on and so forth all the way down the line. It makes it a real gauntlet and almost makes it, impossible for some of these deeper seeds to end up winning the conference tournament. But, we'll see what happens in the Sun Belt because the Sun Belt is notoriously one of the more up-in-the-air tournaments every conference tournament season. And the WCC that also has this style of bracket has been playing very, very chalk for well over a decade now because of St. Mary's and because of Gonzaga. But the Sun Belt offers a different dynamic, and I am going to be playing a little bit with it, but ultimately, our approach is going to be a little bit more chalk in this bracket as compared to, some of the other leagues that we'll end up getting onto. But with all that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right into these futures. All right, so let's start off by naming the teams that I think have a viable chance to win the Sun Belt tournament. And to clear up some confusion from last video, this segment and kind of what I'm doing in terms of naming these teams are my entirely, subjective opinion. Obviously, if you're in the field, you can win the Sun Belt tournament. I just don't think based on coaching staff or play style or just personnel in general that all of these teams have a true shot at actually winning the tournament. I might be wrong, but this is the core that I'm kind of picking from when I am looking at the futures route. And let's just start from the top. I think South Alabama at the 1 seed is very viable. James Madison at the 2, Troy at the 3, Arkansas State at the 4, and then I'm going to jump to the 6 seed with App State. Well-coached, good defense, and then I'm going to jump all the way down to the 9 seed with the Georgia Southern. I like their guard play. I think if any kind of core can come out of that deeper region, that's going to be the one. So these are the teams that I think are very viable, and we can start off with our longest shot here on the board in terms of the futures market, and that is going to be the Georgia Southern Eagles. And, like I said, our approach is going to be mainly chalk when we're talking about the futures market here, but this is one of those teams that I'm fine taking a shot with. I think they're balanced. I think they have size. I think they have athleticism, and when you look at the guard play, in particularly with a guy like an Adante Holloman, I am bought into him being, the star potentially of this tournament. I think they have shot makers. I think they have shot creators. And I think they're athletic enough and talented enough to beat anybody in this league. And when you're looking at the top of that draw, next time up, if they do get out of their first game against Southern Miss or Coastal Carolina, which I think they will, they're going to take on Georgia State, who they just beat. I think they win that game. Marshall under a first-year head coach and just kind of a lot of roster turnover. I don't know if they're ready yet right there. And then Arkansas State, out of the top 4 seeds, is the one that I think is the most pickable. And once they're in, on the dance floor there, that's where we get into our hedges. And in particular, when you're looking at the odds for Georgia Southern, you're going to see plus 35,000 on DraftKings. So we don't really need to take a sizable stab because that is obviously, a very, very long shot. And for that reason, I say we go ahead and place 0.25 units to win 87.5 units on DraftKings on the Georgia Southern Eagles. Again, I think this could be one of the magic teams, lightning in a bottle, but they do have a gauntlet ahead of them just because of how this tournament is structured, unfortunately. But hey, we'll see how far they can get, and then we can start talking hedges maybe in the semifinals or even in the quarterfinals as well. All right, for our second pick here in the Sun Belt tournament, we're going to be turning our heads to Troy. And when you look at Scott Cross and Troy's bunch, he's had a lot of good teams, and he really rebuilt this thing back when he took over in 2020, and, it's really coming to a head. Over the last 4 years, he's had a lot of really acquired talent that's been very high level, personally built up, and they've transferred off and kind of come into the program, and he's really utilized the portal well. He's also grown guys in-house, and now he has a pretty good squad that it plays with a pretty good amount of balance. And when you're looking at the makeup of this lineup, they don't have that, kind of wiry, crazy guard, but they have a physical defense. They have guys that can kind of body you at all levels on offense. And I do think that because of this structure in the Sun Belt tournament, this is a really great spot for them to be in, because, you might not get picked off by that hot upstart offensive team, and the team sitting behind them as well in App State is not one of those teams that, can really just fire off a bunch of threes and hit them. So when you're looking at Troy's line, when you're looking at how their play style kind of fits their side of the bracket, I think it fits really well. And I say we take Troy at plus 410, places on FanDuel for 2 units for our second bet here in the Sun Belt Tournament. All right, for our final future here in the Sun Belt Tournament, we're going to be turning our heads to that same side of the bracket, that bottom half, and we're going to be looking at the 2 seed in James Madison. And they're led by Preston Spradlin, who came over from Morehead State. And Morehead State, the last 7 years under his tutelage have had a host of OVC titles. They've also had a lot of appearances in that conference championship game. And now he just has, a cakewalk. They're starting off in the semifinals because of how they performed in the regular season. And I do think that when you have that type of pedigree from a kind of a traditionally tough, more compact league in the OVC, I do think that's going to carry over well to, just being essentially a 4-team playoff when you start in the semifinals. And whether that's, App State or Texas State or Troy, playing them in the semifinals, I think that James Madison really matches up well with all of them. I also think that James Madison has the most impressive guard play in this conference. And for those reasons, and just because, again, they're kind of starting here on third base with 0 outs, I think we go ahead and take a shot here with James Madison. I found plus 400 on MGM, and I say we go ahead and place that for 2 units for our final future here in the Sun Belt Tournament. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and I want to give you guys a big shout out for blowing up the ASUN Conference Tournament preview. I basically asked you guys, if you could show love on the video, that would mean a lot. That would kind of motivate me to make one for as many conferences as I can fit in, because this is definitely a more niche style of video, and these are niche bets, but I do think a lot of money can be made here. Obviously, this isn't really a league where we're going to be looking to do a lot of hedging. I think we're just going to let, Troy and our James Madison future ride, and Georgia Southern would be the one that, if we do end up hedging any of our bets, that's the one right there. But, ultimately, I think this is a great way to make money long-term in college basketball. I've obviously done really, really well with it over the last 5 years, and I'm excited for you guys to take part in it. So, with all that being said, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.